A famous question was once asked of Elie Wiesel, by a student of his at Boston University. The student said, "I have a problem. I'm trying to figure out where to be. This Sunday, there are two marches happening. One is in solidarity with Soviet Jewry. At the time, Jews were not being allowed to leave the Soviet Union. And the other one is anti-apartheid in South Africa." And Elie Wiesel sat there as a student, said, "I just don't know where to go. Should I go to the march against apartheid in South Africa, or should I go for the march in solidarity with Soviet Jewry?" And Elie Wiesel sat for a moment and thought and said, "Obviously the answer is you need to go to both. And here's why I think you should go to the march in solidarity with Soviet Jewry." He said, "If you march against apartheid in South Africa, who will go to the march in support of the Jewish community in the Soviet Union?" Now, in that moment, there were two pressing needs, and a person who cares about the world had a real divide in their own heart. Here's a moment where there is a fire raging around Northern California, not far from where I live. And there are ways that we can respond. One of them is very tribal and provincial. Though provincial is negative, it actually means that there's a province, there's a local community. The Talmud actually suggests that when you're trying to allocate your own tzedakah, your own righteous giving, you need to start with a hyper-local. Take care of your neighborhood, then take care of your city, and then perhaps beyond those boundaries. This one's very local. Local can also mean what is the smallest area of my individual concern where no one else will tend. And so Camp Newman, a treasured part of the Jewish landscape in Northern California, is mostly destroyed because of the devastating fire that is hitting Northern California right now. So one of the areas of advocacy that we will be part of, that we will help rebuild, is going to be part of Camp Newman's efforts and the Jewish community out there. But that is insufficient. We need to go to both marches. What is it to stand in solidarity with the community? Well, here's an ancient Midrash that might help us with our thinking. When the Torah records in Parshat Lech Lecha, in the beginning of Genesis, God's first call to Abraham, whose name was Abram at the time, Avram seems to come out of nowhere. We don't know much about him. In fact, that was my bar mitzvah drash, what we don't know about Avram. The Midrash, the Rabbis Imagination, fills in the story as follows in a book called Breshit Rabbah, an ancient collection of legends and myths. When Avram was walking through the earth, he was observing everything around him, and in the distance he saw a burning castle. Some say it's an illuminated castle. He saw this burning castle. No one else was noticing. And he said, "There must be a master of this universe. For this fire, for this illumination, for this energy to be happening, who's in charge?" At which point, God peeked out from the castle, as it were, and said, "I am the Baal Habayit. I am the master of this castle. Now lech lecha, now you go, do your work." And so we have the opportunity that we would never ask for, to notice a devastating fire raging here, floods elsewhere, war elsewhere, belligerence, many places digitally and otherwise. The question is, who's in charge? The answer might be God is in charge, but that is not the answer, actually. The answer is, yes, God, now you go. So Elie Wiesel said to a student famously, go to both marches. I don't know who's listening to this. I don't know who's out there watching. I can see a few friends. I can see a few people. I'm glad we're together. The real question is, from my perch here in Berkeley, I can smell the smoke from the fire that's raging in Northern California right now. I smell it. We all smell it. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Is it going to be only responding to areas of Jewish need, or will you as a Jew answer to need way beyond what we understand already? And so just for a moment, let's pray that everyone affected by this fire is safe. Let's pray for the safety and the strength and the resilience and endurance of all the first responders and medical teams that will likely be needed. And let's talk about what it is to be active in the world where we can believe in God, but the deeds that we wish to see in the world are going to be based on the decisions we make. May we be so brave that we rush to each other's aid, and may we be so lucky that there isn't much need in the first place.